back for another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break. Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows. And if you can, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Plus, if you can like, share, subscribe, follow, or do anything that you can to support us right here at the Lakers Fast Break, Lakerholics.com. And, of course, we are a proud partner with the Hoopheads Podcast Network. And please support all their fantastic shows. Sincerely appreciated. Also want to let everybody know I will be doing double duty. Later on tonight, I will be on the Pop Culture Cosmos Twitch and YouTube pages covering night 1 of WrestleMania. So check that out later tonight. My special guest will be John Orlando from the PBD cast. Hopefully, if you're a big wrestling fan out there, you can catch our coverage on night 1 and night 2 with our post-game wrap-ups right there at Pop Culture Cosmos. Well, Laker Tom was right. You know, going in, anytime the Lakers would be going up against some star power, intimidated, and didn't have it tonight. They went into Brooklyn. It looked like they were so intimidated by Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and it really looked bad for them tonight. It was just something that Laker Tom has been right about for so long. And you know what? I don't know. It's just something that I guess was going in, with something to be expected. Oh, wait, hold on. Oh my gosh. The Lakers won. That's right. They won 126-101 over the Brooklyn Nets. And it wasn't even close at the end of the second half. A great performance all the way around by the Lakers. In fact, I am going to go out of my way to say this right now. And I know I've said it several times over the course of the season because they come up with big win after big win after big win. This is the biggest win of the year for the Los Angeles Lakers. In prime time on ABC, without Kyle Kuzma, still out with a calf strain, without LeBron, without AD, who we'll cover later on in the show because we got some good news coming up for you if you didn't hear, according to sources. But without those players and without Marc Gasol, he was also out of the lineup as well. And in the third and fourth quarter, for the most part, we were out Dennis Schroeder, who has played very well. I'll tell you what, they came up with the best performance. And Felix, we are the champions when you play like that. It's something I've talked about consistently as far as on the defensive end. When the Lakers and Brooklyn, if they were to match up in the finals, to me, it's all about the defense. I know a lot of people are talking about the star power. Harden, KD, Irving, they're great together. Firepower is awesome. And on certain days, they're going to beat anyone on the planet Earth. But for the most part, in the 7-game series, I think it'll come down to defense. And that's what you saw today as the Lakers once again trounced the Brooklyn Nets with KD and Irving, well, for 3 quarters anyways, 126-101. And here today to talk about the game is a great person indeed who has to be corrected, but he is, you know what? He might be eating some crow today, but he is loving eating this crow because he is the man indeed behind Lakerholics.com. Be part of the conversation today at Lakerholics.com. Big shout out again to Felix. He says, before I get you on, Laker Tom, his comment was starting to look like that we made their starting run against the Bucks and the Clippers. He talked about those monumental wins that solidified the Lakers at the top of the NBA last season. You know what, Laker Tom? This could be the start of something really special for the team this time around.
I hope I agree 100% with you, Gerald. For me, the test of being a fan has always been, would you rather the Lakers win or would you rather be right with your predictions, your criticisms, your takes on the games? I've always opted for I'd rather have the Lakers win, and tonight they really came out and did exactly what they needed to do. They got off to a great start. They hit their shots early. They were aggressive early. They got out to a big lead. And then what I thought was even more impressive, they lost that lead. They got tied to 52-52, and then they got behind 56-52, and they rallied and went into the half with a 3-point lead. Then they come into the second half. And
I was going to say, let me say this. At that point, I was really high on the Lakers. They were up by as much as 9, but as soon as you saw that run by Brooklyn, just like that, they, just evaporated the lead. You thought, as a Lakers fan, here we go. Where it's doom and gloom from there on.
I didn't really at that point.
I'm going to tell you, I did. I'm going to tell you, I did, because it went to that Laker Tom mentality as far as the intimidation that a KD and LeBron, because KD and Irving, when you saw in that small run, they were isolating the Lakers on one side, and they had the nice setup right there. They went away from it, and I thought that was their undoing.
Well, the big thing was then you had this whole incident with, referees need to understand who we're paying to watch the game play.
Ridiculous. Absolutely
that
ridiculous.
was one of the most ridiculous things I ever saw. There was just two guys chirping back and forth against each other, and they kick them both out of the game.
Yeah.
Well, at that point in time, the Lakers really took charge of the game, and the guy who did it was Ben Mclemore with his three-point shooting. Man, he hit 5 straight shots at that point in time, and from there on, it was smooth sailing all the way through the rest of the game. I was so impressed with getting the ball to Mclemore. I was impressed that here's a guy who was 0 for 4. I think he was 0 for 3 in the first game, 0 for 4 in this game. And all of a sudden he just rained threes on them, and the lead built up over 20, and that was the end of it.
Two things I want to ask you to real quick on this. First off, you are exactly right. You're exactly right as far as in a primetime game, the NBA, I'm sure Adam Silver was really mad at the refs because they kicked out the actual Dennis Schroeder, the person who was playing the best for the Lakers, and Kyrie Irving, the star player for the Brooklyn Nets. They kicked them both out. Should have just given them tees and be done with it.
They gave them 2 tees.
Yeah, they gave them 2 tees, but the problem is you should just give them 1 tee and just keep them in the game. And then you had, I think, another one I don't like is when you bring over like this, as far as Marcus Morris when he got his flagrant. I mean, I've seen this all the time now. Every time
that was a flagrant foul. That was a flagrant foul. The way they're calling it now.
But that's the way they're calling it. But the thing is, now you can get that call easily if you go ahead and stick your face in.
Yep.
That's all you're going to need to do. That's the problem. That's a kind of, to me, it does not allow the player to go ahead and do anything with the movement if they're not doing anything malicious.
What you have to do is you have to turn your back and pivot into the guy with your hips and move him out and clear space that way. You can't clear space with your elbows. That's going to be an automatic flagrant foul.
But he wasn't clearing space. He was trying to
clear space. He was trying to clear space to take a post-up jumper on a smaller guy. But at any rate, listen, the Lakers as a team played well. I mean, Kenny had 0 points in the first half, came through with a couple of important threes at the end of the game. Taylor Horton Tucker was just terrific. 11 assists to lead the team. Schroeder in the first half kept us in the game. 0 turnovers for Dennis in his 20 minutes that he played.
His best game of the year.
Really impressive. And the defense, we locked down on defense where we turned the ball over on them over and over. I was really angry that they allowed them to get to 101 points. I wanted to hold them under 100. But it was.
I mean, they're the best scoring team in the league.
It was a statement game, and the Lakers not only survived the game, they won a blowout. They really overcame 3 important points in the game when they lost that lead and finished out the first half strong to take a 3-point lead, and then when Dennis and Kyrie were kicked out of the game, you would expect that to hurt the Nets more because Kyrie's the superstar. But on the other hand, Dennis is the only point guard the Lakers really have. You got to give credit to Horton Tucker. Horton Tucker came out after that and really made some sensational plays. It was a great all-around game. I couldn't be more proud of the Lakers. And this is the kind of game where you just really enjoyed watching the game. I mean, I was just screaming and yelling, and the neighbors were complaining. My wife was complaining. Everybody was complaining. But, this is one of those games where you just can't be quiet. It was just sensational. It was terrific to see them win. I loved seeing LeBron and AD on the bench. Drummond played a great game. I'm screaming, yes. Drummond. the entire game. He played really well. Did not take bad shots. A couple of times he took bad shots, but they were in good efforts. He's playing within the confines of the offense and defense of what we want him to do. 11 rebounds. So it was a terrific all-around game, and the team has to be smiling at this point in chance. And I think they got a chance to go 5-2 on this 7-game trip. Well,
let's see if they can continue the momentum. But
but they have what Akbar would consider to be trap games coming up in the next 2 games.
Yeah, I want to say this. I mean, you still have Kevin Durant on the floor. Kyrie Irving is a big loss, but the Dennis Schroeder loss, I think, was bigger for the Lakers. In theory, when you look at it on paper, how well he was playing to that point.
Positional need.
Yeah.
We know what it's like when we don't have him.
But it seemed to lift, like you said, the Lakers much more so than Brooklyn. And again, the defensive effort was there for 48 minutes, just truly sensational. I want to go ahead and sound off again. Felix has been great with the comments. Bree Marco, all-star team, got beaten by the newbies. I mean, we talked about Ben Mclemore, and while I go ahead and read more of these great comments, and thank you so much for the hearts from Bree Marco, and also as well Glenda for the big thumbs up. We truly appreciate it. Once again, it's the Lakers Fast Break. The Lakers did win in impressive fashion, 126-101, probably their best win of the year because no Kuzma, no Gasol.
Five guys out,
Yeah, no LeBron, no AD, and then in the second half, for most of it, you didn't have Schroeder. So a very impressive win for the team. I mean, Tom, talk to me about Ben Mclemore. This is the kind of thing people need to expect. He's going to give you a lot of offers, but he's also going to get hot and really make that stretch where at time, you just got to recognize the time when he's hot. When he's hot, you got to feed it to him. That's what he's good for those runs, just like you saw tonight.
Well, what's interesting is that when you looked earlier in the season, the Lakers had like a 10-point 3-point differential, a negative 10-point 3-point differential, meaning that the Nets would score 30 more points per game on 3-point shots. Today, we shot 19 out of 34 from 3. They shot 5 out of 27. We had 14 threes or 42-point differential in 3-point shooting. That's what won the game. And a big part of it is confidence. Shooting is all about confidence, which was all of the main thing behind my screaming and yelling the last 5 or 6 games about how the Lakers need to come out shooting the ball. And tonight they did that. And I have to feel that this, Ben's really knocked around for the last couple of years, hasn't really found the team. And you heard him make comments about how happy he was that the Leaf really felt wanted on the Lakers and so forth. And I saw him go to the bench after he'd hit those 5 straight shots, and Frank Vogel was there greeting him on the bench, and the players were greeting him on the bench. And this is the kind of game that is one of those chemistry games when you're on the road, the team all pulls together and they pull off a big win without their superstars, without 3 other important role players on the team. And everybody played well and really did a terrific game. Markieff Morris has more and more become the player that we saw last year in the playoffs. It was so valuable. So this was and it was definitely the best game that Dre has had with the Lakers. 20 points, a double-double, over 10 rebounds. So there's nothing we can complain about in this game. We did exactly what we needed to do. We sent a message to the Brooklyn Nets. Come and meet us again in the finals, and we'll have LeBron and AD. We'll have Kuzma. We'll have Gasol. We'll have Matthews back, and it should be an interesting matchup because tonight it was the Lakers' offense and their defense that dominated the Brooklyn Nets.
Absolutely. Wes Matthews was also out for the team. So you had, like Laker Tom was saying, 5 individual players in the rotation for the Lakers out tonight during the game, and they still pulled off a tremendous victory. Laker Tom, this is something that, again, a lot of people have given me flack for. And V. Garcia, I appreciate the comments. Let me go ahead and give you a shout out here real quick. But Laker Tom, I want to go ahead and talk about this. This is something that a lot of people have had a hard time believing when I tell people the defense. For me, the defense is going to keep the Lakers always within the game, no matter who it is, as far as during a playoff scenario. if the Lakers continue to play defense like this, they're always going to give themselves a chance to win.
Well, I think that's absolutely true. And the most remarkable thing is that we allowed the Brooklyn Nets 101. They're the best defense. They're the best offense in the league. We held them to 101 points. And our defense has been the second-ranked defense in the league without LeBron and without AD. That's a testament to not only the coaching staff, the schemes that they put in there, but also to the players and the way they executed them. And there were periods in the third quarter when we took charge of the game and the threes were raining at the other end where we were turning the ball over on them every time down. The other thing that we did tonight that was really exceptional is we took care of the ball. The turnovers have been the bane of this team for a long time. We had 15 turnovers. We only allowed 11 points in those 15 turnovers. So there was, and that's a big part of it too. When you get a turnover, and if your defense can prevent that turnover from turning into 2 or 3 points, that is just a really plus for the team. So it was an all-around team victory tonight. The Lakers are going to enjoy dinner. I guess the next game is Tuesday.
Well, the next game they have, is going to be on the 12th, which is going to be on Monday against the Knicks. Okay. They're going to be at the Knicks.
Well, we have the Monday, Tuesday back-to-back.
Yes, that is correct. V. Garcia puts in that Ben Mclemore will definitely feel the love of the Lakers the more he gets comfortable with them. The chemistry will get there, and his confidence is going to go through the roof, just like THT has. And THT, we're going to get it as far as the second is concerned, but I want to touch on Schroeder real quick. When it comes to Dennis Schroeder, these are the type of games which, in his mind, and obviously a lot of other people that's out there, gets people thinking that maybe he is worth a big contract. I know there are other times over the past week that we've talked about where he's played, where continuous turnovers, things of that nature, where it's shown that maybe he's not. I know he's not at the upper echelon of point guards out there, but I think if, again, it comes down to the defense he provides and the solid play he can give you at times like these.
Well, I think also you have to look at how he fits in the team. And part of the problem is that when we don't have LeBron, we really are giving up a lot of playmaking. And you're giving up a lot of three-point shooting because Dennis shot extremely well from three tonight. And in March, he's actually shooting almost 40% from three. I still think there's a pathway for the Lakers to keep Dennis. Some of it is going to be that he's going to have to make one of those decisions like Kyle Kuzma made, that there's value in playing on the Lakers in Los Angeles on a championship team along with LeBron and AD. That's maybe worth a few $1 million. And he'll take 20 million rather than demanding 24 million. The second thing is that I think it's really important who the Lakers end up pairing him with in the backcourt. You need to have, if you've got a guy like Dennis, who is really not a volume 3-point shooter, who can attack the rim and so forth, you really need to pair him with a bigger guard who can actually is a high volume 3-point shooter and a real playmaker, a true lead guard, and let Dennis be the 2 guard. And if you have somebody that you pair him up with that, for example, then it's a whole different situation. It'll be interesting to see if Mclemore can keep up the hot shooting. If he can, and he becomes then part of the plan going forward, that really, he's the type of shooter, for example, that could play very well with Dennis. He's not a playmaker. I would still prefer that we still need a true point guard. And in many ways, Dennis's best role was the role that OKC put him in, which is coming off the bench as the second lead guard. But he's not going to settle for that at this point in time. So the best thing we could do is somehow make a trade with KCP and other pieces to be able to get a true lead guard who can shoot the 3 and play him alongside Dennis. So I think there still is a pathway for Dennis to be a valuable contributor on the team and for us to take advantage of his attack dog defense, his ability and his speed to get to the rim. And he, and if he can cut down on the turnovers like he did tonight. I mean, I love it when a player says in a press conference after a game that I just got to take care of the ball better. I didn't do a good job of it. And then comes out in the next game against a heavily favored team and shows that he can cut his turnovers down to 0 and take care of the ball entirely. And then just dish out 4 assists and 19 points, even though he only played a little over half. That was an outstanding performance. And it would have been better had he not made the second comment of whatever he did to the refs so they didn't get kicked out. That would have been a lot better. But on the other hand, the team really rallied behind him, and it was great to see that. So, there's a lot of pluses that came out of this game. Dre's play at center definitely was a big plus. Ben's shooting, that first 3 that he hit was just a terrific play because the pass to him was really high. He had to jump in the air, come down after he caught that pass, and he jumped straight up right from there. He didn't even hesitate at all. He jumped straight up from there and nailed that long 3 in the corner. And that was a turnaround of the game because at that point he became hot and he just couldn't miss a shot. There were some great plays from THT and getting the 11 assists, taking over when Dennis couldn't do it. And so it was one of those games where it's what you need when you don't have your superstars. You need all of those role players to really prove that they can, even if it's just for one game, they can be the next man up. And the Lakers did a terrific job of that tonight.
Once again, it's the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate you being part of the program today. Before we get to the great news that we also heard before the game that came through sources to ESPN, I'm assuming Adrian Wojnarowski was somewhere in the mix on that one. I want to go ahead and touch on one last player that you didn't mention yet, who I thought had a great performance, who's been stashed at the end of the bench the entire season. That's Alfonso Mckinney. McKinney came up with a great performance for him. Well, actually, his best of the year so far. 10 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 27 quality minutes, played extensive defense, just truly a player that, again, he's probably not going to get much in the rotation, but if you have to go to him as a 13th, 14th man, as far as it's concerned, or 12th man, what have you, I think he can play and give you 10, 15 minutes of solid defense and great effort. And I think that's what he's here for now. I think that's the reason why we didn't get rid of him and got rid of Alfonso Mckinney. Does have that pedigree that he has that time with the Golden State Warriors. So he has that championship experience at playing at a high level in the finals. So you never know. It's a nice guy to have somewhere at the end of the bench for the Lakers.
No, he played very well. He's always played well within his game. It was good to see him hit some threes too. I was a little upset with him when he missed a couple of key free throws at one stretch in the game, which it's just so frustrating when you fight a game like this, and that's one of the things that really frustrates me is when we can't make our free throws. That's just we only shot 65% from the free throw line. We missed 7 free throws out of 20. We got outscored in the free throw line by 13 points. And a lot of that is that Durant and Kyrie are very hard to keep off of the line.
Yeah.
And they get the superstar calls that Dennis doesn't get, that Trez doesn't get. But I agree with you 100%, Gerald, that McKinney was a good contributor. Everybody on the team who really played well. We had 7 guys in double digits.
Yeah.
So it's, that's really the ideal situation. You want everybody on the team to come in and at least be competent, play good defense, play in your position, take your shots when you've got them, and hustle for the rebounds and so forth. It was a great game, and you just hope that this can be something that will add to the team chemistry, will add to the team's confidence as they move up. We need to win the next 2 games. As we stand right now, we're 2 games behind the 2 losses behind the Clippers and the Nuggets in a fight for the 3rd seed. And if the Lakers can win that 3rd seed, that is a huge benefit because we're going to have fans in the stands starting on the 15th. There's a good chance it could be 35% of the capacity of the stadium, of the arena, of Staples Center. And that's going to be exciting. And then the next big news, obviously, is when is AD going to come back?
And LeBron as well. And that's something I want to close out the show on right now. And that's the word, according to ESPN and sources inside the Lakers, that I guess it's not official, but sources say that Anthony Davis will be returning to the lineup in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, and LeBron 1 week later. So we could have within 2 and 3 for LeBron. That'll give a team enough time. What did you talk about? What that's going to be about? You were talking about 8-9 games left when they would have both players.
9 games in May.
Okay, but within 3 weeks, and 3 weeks is the countdown right now.
Left after tonight.
So okay, that'll probably, like you said, be around 8-9 games if that was the case for LeBron and AD together. If that's the case, and that's something that we could hope for. That's almost similar to the type of run that they had with the bubble, where they looked awful for the bubble run for 8 games.
Except we need to win these, and we didn't need to win the ones in the bubbles, which obviously was why they didn't really go after them hard.
Exactly, outside of that Clippers game in the front side of that bubble time. So I want to go ahead and say that we're hoping for just continued health. I mean, calf strain for Kuzma. We think he might be back as early as Monday. We're hoping for that. I think he'll
play Monday. I think they sort of wanted to keep him out of this game. I mean, I even made an illusion that are they throwing this game because they decided not to play Kyle and save him for the back-to-back?
Well, he might not play the back-to-back. They might just give him one of the two. I have a feeling. Don't be surprised if people out there don't be surprised if you only see him one of the 2 games in the back-to-back. And then Wes Matthews with an ACL. Or is it something more serious? I didn't hear much more on that outside of it's just an ACL issue right now. So I'm hoping he'll be able to bounce back soon as well. But again, the Lakers came off with a tremendous victory. Just the way they played today was something everybody out there should want to see from the Lakers each and every time out. It was 126-101. But before we head on out, Laker Tom, I want you to go ahead and give everybody an update on what you're doing at Lakerholics.com.
Well, we've had some great conversations at Lakerholics.com, and I really invite everybody who's listening to the show to stop by the site, join in the conversation. The comments, basically, we have a lot of original content that's being provided by the show. All of Gerald's Lakers Fast Break podcast, for example, articles that I write in Medium are reprinted in Lakerholics.com. Jamie Sweet, the associate publisher for the site, does a great 5 things article as a post game of every game. And so there's a lot of original content, but I think the thing that really sets the site aside and differentiates it from all of the other sites is that we're not an aggregator. And the big attraction really I find is the conversations, the dialogues between all of the various people who participate in the site. So you'll see a lot of great conversations, back and forth, opinions, disagreements, and so forth. But it's always with a spirit that we're all Laker fans. And rather than our opinions be right, we would rather have our team win. And so you'll see a lot of very positive statements, a lot of criticisms, a lot of opinions that you may not agree with, but everybody is always treated with a great deal of respect. And we invite everybody to sign up and join on the site and become part of that conversation.
And please do that today at Lakerholics.com. Well, once again, it is the Lakers coming out on top with a big win on primetime television on ABC, 126-101. Simply a great showcase for the Lakers defense, which it could be the biggest star of them all. LeBron, AD, the entire team of the Lakers. You know what? The Lakers could actually have the best defense in the league, and that definitely will take them a long way in the playoffs. That could be their third man like it was last year. I mean, we talked about last year who was going to be the third guy, It ended up being the Lakers defense being the third guy and the key to their success last year. And I think that's going to be the key to any type of success they have in the playoffs in just a short bit of time. But thank you so much for everybody for listening and watching on today's program. Once again, check us out as part of the Hoop Heads Podcast Network. And of course, always as well, you can go ahead and check us out at Lakerholics.com. The Hoop Heads Podcast Network has a ton of great shows. You got to catch it today at hoopheadspod.com. Don't forget, I'm doing wrap-ups of WrestleMania, the weekend, and so much more. The latest episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier. Check it out on the upcoming Monday's episode of Pop Culture Cosmos. And I think V. Garcia said it best when it concerns tonight's game and the victory, 126-101. It was definitely a statement game, but you know what? She had the perfect comment for it. She said there's a thunderstorm. But V, I think you're right. There is a thunderstorm coming. And in 2 to 3 weeks, that thunderstorm will get a lot louder for the NBA. Well, I'll tell you what, Laker Tom, it's been great having you part of today's program. Where are all our friends? Where's L. Rob? Where's Jamie Sweet? Where's Sean Grice? I don't know where these guys are at. I've got other great podcasts. If you get a chance, check us out wherever you get your podcasts. I just dropped a fantastic interview with my good friend Rafael Barlow from NBA Draft Junkies. Also, as well, check out his stuff that he does at Locked On NBA Draft Podcast. I've got one scheduled for Monday as well with Stone Hansen. That's going to drop Monday morning. Actually, as close to midnight as possible. Monday morning, it's going to drop with Stone Hansen, also talking about some of the great draft things that are coming up for the Lakers and some of the moves that he would think would be best for the team coming up in the summer as well. So check out his podcast, Upside Swings, and of course, check out our conversation on Monday on the Lakers Fast Break channel, wherever you get your podcasts. Once again, the Lakers come out with a great victory. I'm going to say it again. I've said it already 4 or 5 times this season, but you know what? When you win and you're 5 men down, this is number 1 on the list. On prime time, they do beat handily Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and the rest of the Brooklyn Nets 126-101 with the best defensive performance of the year, the best overall performance of the year for the team. And we'll be back on Monday for everyone out there listening with Stone Hansen. And we'll be back for everybody watching on Monday night after the game with the Knicks right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. Thanks to all for the great comments, and thank you so much for watching, everyone. Take care and have a great weekend.